Hello. What up? What up? Woo-hoo.
The codes of self-esteem. It's the codes of who you are.
Are you ready?
Hey fans, welcome back to another Thursday, another episode, the 13th episode of our lovely show. I'm really glad to be back and I'm really glad to be in your homes once again.
Mhm.
I'm here with Steve and Julie. How are you guys doing today?
I'm doing really good. I don't mean to interrupt you, Julie. I know I always go second. You know what? Next episode, you're going second. I always wonder, do people at YouTube do they hear our intro or do they just see us like just kind of like chilling here, like bop into like random ass silence?
No, they hear it.
They hear it really? Oh, that's cool.
It's
Never
all
mind.
connected,
You
bro.
know for sure? You watched?
I watched it.
Really?
Unlike some people.
I sorry, I don't watch my own stuff. Just like the
Jared Leto?
greats.
Like Jared
Uh,
Leto?
doesn't a fucking what's his name? Darth Darth Vader's like grandson. What's his name?
Darth Vader's grandson?
Adam Driver. Adam Driver.
He doesn't watch his own stuff?
He doesn't watch his own shit. He like literally runs away if you show him. No disrespect, but he literally there's like clips of people playing the trailer in front of him, and he like leaves the interview. He has like severe anxiety about watching himself do it. So that's me, Julie. I don't watch it. I'm a lot like Adam Driver. Similar height, similar facial structure.
Anyways, how are you doing, Julie?
I'm doing good.
That's
I'm a
good.
little tired.
You're a little tired? Didn't sleep?
No. I can't sleep. It's weird. I don't know.
Really?
Lay off the marijuana. So, do we have any segments today? What do we got for the what do we got for the kids at home today?
Yeah. So today I wanted to talk about this thing called Singularity. Me and Brandon were talking about a little bit before the show about how like, Julie, you know Elon Musk's Neuralink. Do you know what that is?
No.
It's basically like Elon Musk is wearing on like he's working on having like a link inside of your brain so that
Oh.
way like you can like see the internet through your eyes, you can like talk to other people through your mind like without having to say actual words. But anyways, there was like this guy on TikTok that was saying like if it connects everybody's minds, there's like this fear that it'll like make everybody into one collective I. Like we'll become one consciousness and then we'll reference ourselves I. But that's not what I wanted to talk about. I wanted to talk about what people were talking about in the comments. So some people were saying like if that is true, wouldn't it be better because we'd kind of like as a collective like look after the planet. We'd kind of become like almost this like evolution of like our consciousness. Like we reach this next stage in our evolution where like now we look after the earth and like now we all work together. We It's easier because there's no arguing, like we're all basically just one person, so we do what's right for the planet and then we're able to evolve that way. But other people were saying that if that were to happen, if humans were to one day kind of reach this singularity where they become one kind of like mega mind, this hive mind, um that we'd lose what makes us humanity. Like we'd lose what makes us like what makes humans humans, what makes us have our own opinions and like our own like artistic value. What do you think? Do you think that in terms of this situation, would it be better if we were all like one collective mind that does good for the planet and for the universe, or is it good that we have our own unique individualism?
I just imagine someone taking over us if we only have one mind.
Taking over us? What do you
Yeah.
mean?
Like just taking over of our minds and like just taking over humanity. But that's just like me in
What do
my
you mean? But
imagination.
what do you mean?
Well, because if you're saying that we would be like just one person, no? Is that what you're saying?
We would be
Like we'd
one.
be one
Well,
mind. So
we'd be one
so
mind.
someone would
Yeah.
control all of our minds.
You're saying like
That's how I'm seeing it.
you're
I'm seeing
saying that
it.
like one mind would dominate over everyone's, and then it'd become like the that would be like the entire mind.
Mhm.
I don't think so. I
I
feel
don't
like
know. I don't know. I don't know.
What's exactly the question though? Like, just for
I was
clarity,
saying, I
just
was
for
saying,
clarity, I mean, like
I was say,
this already happens, and like You can't really, or you mean
No, no,
like
no. I'm saying, what is better for humanity, like for the greater good? Is it better to be one mind that does things right for the environment, for the animals on this planet, and like, because if we are all one mind, then we all collectively like
But
all follow like there's no disagreeing. Or like
but mhm.
if what we're doing in terms of like oils and like tech, and like if we're all like, all right, let's all do it, and then that's it. There's no arguing.
But what's to say that that's gonna be the mind everyone's gonna have? Like, what if people are like, "Fuck the Earth, bro"? Like, they're
yeah, what
like,
if we're
"Nah."
like
Oh,
we
if we're
want to
like,
rule the
damn.
universe?
Oh, like
Ah.
if we're like, damn, like the earth and fucking all these shits don't mean shit to
Well,
us.
because
Yeah.
like there's a lot of good people, there's a lot of bad people.
Yeah.
I
I
don't know.
guess that's
I
what she
guess,
means.
well, I guess
It's
because
kind of.
like it would be a totally new thing, right? I guess the reason why I was asking what do you mean? Because I feel like this is a collective. If it's, let's say, how many people are on Earth? 8 billion.
7 billion, almost going on 8.
Going at 8 billion. Like if all those minds were collected together, all those neurons, it'd be like basically something else. Like it'd be like an entirely new, higher, I assume, higher intellect, because obviously there's so much like brain power.
Mhm.
And I feel like, do you think? But then doesn't that mean that like a highly educated person, if we were like, oh fuck, fuck the environment, doesn't that mean that like somebody who is that intellectually like smart doesn't give a fuck about anything? Like what's it called? Like in Watchmen, what's his name? The
Dr.
Dr.
Manhattan.
Manhattan, yeah. You think that's true?
Um, I mean, well, I've heard about the singularity because of AI, right? Where they
Mhm.
say that eventually we're gonna hit AI that self learns, and
Mhm.
because it's AI, it'll be just indefinitely learning until it hits like infinity, something like that. Don't quote me on
Mhm.
it, but um, I think the fear of it, or what everybody always says, it's not that they're afraid that AI is gonna like be like rah and take over and be evil. It's more that the goals will change. So like you building a house, that's not bad. You want to live in a home, right? But there's ants living there, or there's bugs living there. But I mean, you want to live there. You don't care that they're trying to do what they're gotta do. You're not even on their plane. So I guess what they're saying is like a higher consciousness, right? Might not even be the stuff we do. It'd probably be
Oh.
like, what even is this? Why would I even do that?
I get what you're saying. So it's kind of like if we were all, if every human became one, we might not even care about the environment. Instead, we'd be like, you know what, guys,
Just
let's
get
just
out of
dip.
here.
Yeah, let's just dip. Like, let's
Probably
see
go
what
to
else is out here.
probably go to another dimension or something.
In a way, damn, that's crazy. In a way, I mean, technically, we would be saving the Earth because obviously, if humans dip, like, well, actually, no, unless we got rid of like our nuclear factories first. Because if we just dip, those eventually would fall out and break, and then it would fuck up the Earth worse that we left.
Well, have you? It's weird though, because Chernobyl is pretty cool now. Or it's weird. Have you seen the animals
Hmm.
there and all the land
Hmm.
where it seems like it's even more pristine?
Did you ever watch the miniseries on HBO Max?
No.
Nah, missing out, bro. Missing out. I recommend it to anybody who's listening. Chernobyl, HBO Max. Check it out. One of the best series I've ever seen. Julie,
Crazy.
Julie, thoughts?
I don't know. It's weird because I understand the part about how our differences is what makes us like human and all that stuff. But I keep thinking about, I don't know, would we actually come together as a collective and be like, you know what, we should save the earth?
No, but
Or
that's it. Like, it wouldn't be us deciding. It
then
would.
who? Then
We would.
who would
It
then?
would just be one mind, which means like one conscious I. Like it wouldn't be like all of us talking together and be like, yeah, we should all do it. No, it'd be like, I'm gonna do it. It's just, you think of yourself right now as an I, as a single person. You don't think that there's like multiple of you. You just like, this is me. I am I. So once all the brains in our species gets connected,
Mhm.
they don't see each other as different people. They just see themselves as an I, as a single conscious. So like they would decide like, okay, I have this much brain power, I have this much power, I have 7 billion basically like arms, right? Or I guess if you times it by two, 14 billion arms. Like they'd see it that way.
So it's only one person still controlling.
You know, in Rick and Morty, when Rick dates Unity and all the people are Unity,
Hmm.
it's like that.
It's like that, yeah.
That shit was chaos, though. No,
No, not
I
only
don't. Oh,
only when,
they were in peace, no, or
yeah,
something, and then something happened, no.
she got drunk, so she started losing
Oh
control
yeah.
of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, but exactly what he said, like in Rick and Morty,
Yeah,
unity.
yeah.
Yeah. So that's what I mean. Like it wouldn't. What I mean that they wouldn't like when I say that like they would suddenly decide to fix all the world's problems. I'm not saying like there'd be 7 billion people talking to each other and be like, yeah, yeah, I agree. It'd be more like it just happens
Mm,
because it's just one singular person, one singular consciousness. You get what I'm
mm.
saying?
But
Um,
then you're not living your life, no?
I mean, but is it worth it? That's what I'm asking. That's basically what the
Mm,
question is
mm,
asking. Is like, yeah, you take away all that. You take away individual, but just like in Rick and Morty, you also take away like the badness, like people who have been addicted to drugs like all their life.
mm,
People who have never done anything in their life have never given back. Maybe criminals,
mhm,
like now are all collectively working to like I don't know better the environment to help humanity reach a higher peak in its consciousness in its purpose in the universe.
mhm,
Like is that worth like stripping people of what makes them human?
mm. Damn. Cause I'm like, bro, I can't live my life. Then what's the point? Like, what's the point of me living it how I want to live it if someone's just gonna be like, kind of just controlling all of it? But I don't know, cause then it's like you think about the bad things, right?
Yeah.
The bad things of I guess the world or whatever, and it's like, damn.
You would basically cease to exist if that happened.
Yeah,
Yeah.
cause it's like
But is it for the greater good? Is it
the,
worth it?
that's damn mind blown.
Brandon?
I don't know. You don't really know if it's good or not. I don't think you can really think of it like good or bad because I think something that smart doesn't really fit our perception of what good and bad is. So you can't make that argument. Like you can't be like it's for the greater good because our greater good isn't that's greater good.
So you mean like what they would understand as
What
like
they would be like is the greater good or this is what we need to do is not even on our like our
mm,
calendar. Like we
mm.
don't even register that. So I
uh
mean if you want to like take a guess and find out, I guess, but nah, I don't not for me.
shout out to Patty with a fatty. Always here, always blowing up the chat. He said that show left me traumatized for a week. I think he's talking about Chernobyl, because somebody hasn't seen it. Who's maybe in the studio. I might be looking at right
I
now.
was like, what's that noise?
um, but yeah, bro, you should watch Chernobyl. It
Okay.
it really makes you see like humans' errors. I always want to talk about it with you, but I don't want to spoil it for you because there's a lot of things that I personally didn't know about the incident. Angela, you know what I'm talking about, right? Like, or like just seeing it firsthand through like I've seen movies, and I mean, you and me are movie guys,
Mhm.
so like
I
it does a
remember.
really good job.
I remember I always related it to how COVID is happening or how it happened,
Yeah.
and that's what. And I always think about that because it always goes back to how history repeats itself.
Mhm.
So I feel like in that aspect, it was repeating itself, and it still kind of is. But yeah, you have to watch it. You have to watch it to
Mhm.
understand what I'm saying. But
I'll put it on the list.
that show's really good, honestly.
It
It
is.
was a
Yeah.
really good show.
It really is. It shows you the horrors, bro. At the end of the world, Brandon, how do you think the world's gonna end?
Mm,
On fire.
oh, if it's gonna end in fire or ice. Um,
Or COVID?
weren't you
Or
talking?
nuke? Or
Weren't
nukes?
you? Weren't
Or
you talking?
asteroids?
Weren't you talking about the Polaroids the other day? I mean the polar bears the
Oh.
other day.
um, I think the world's gonna end in like I don't know. I don't think it's gonna end in like a way that we think. I think it's gonna be more like environmental's gonna push us out. Like eventually, slowly, people are gonna have to leave the planet. Like unless you really want to live here, but I feel like eventually people aren't gonna be able to live here.
Think so?
Yeah, like we might go to Mars, but I don't think it's gonna be like an entire collapse of society. I think we'll probably evolve into something else.
If somebody came to you and they're like, we can, let's say you're like 62, and they're like, oh, we're gonna freeze you to 100 years in the future, but we're also us.
I'll be like, what? What do you mean you're gonna freeze me?
Well,
didn't
I
even
mean,
say
if you have,
yes.
yeah, okay, they're asking you,
Yeah.
they're giving you a choice that they can freeze you for 100 years into the future. And the one thing is that the tech isn't, we can preserve your brain, but we'll probably, when we unfreeze you, you'll probably be in a new body. Like we can go based off your preference or whatever it is. Now you wouldn't want to see what's 100 years in the future. Why not?
Man plans and God laughs, bro. I'm here. I don't know. I like it here. I like the simple life. I don't
But if you
really.
have that choice,
I
no,
would say nah. I don't want it.
no,
I don't know. It doesn't intrigue me. I don't think the future really intrigues me all that much.
really. Only the now intrigues you.
Well, I try for it to intrigue me, right? It's a tragedy that the only thing you get in life is the present moment, and we're always stuck between the past and the future, right?
Mm,
What do they say? If you're depressed, you're stuck in the past, and if you're anxious, you're stuck in the future. A
yeah.
lot of people are. Got to try to be here in the moment.
Wow.
Oh.
Life changing.
I don't know. I feel like for me, well, speaking of which, we're gonna move on to segments, and I'll surprise you with my segment. I was just gonna interview you guys.
All right, go ahead.
Basically.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
But there's a lot. Coincidentally, it carries over a lot. I was thinking about it. You know what I was thinking about it. Thinking about recently. I was thinking about consciousness, coincidentally, but not like our kind of consciousness. I was thinking about like elephants and whales and stuff like that. Because you know how they say that elephants and dolphins and stuff like that are like really intelligent.
Hmm.
Like, they'll be like second, third, fourth place after us.
Dolphins, right?
Proportionately, I think it's the brain size that matters, right? It's like obviously elephants have bigger brains than us because they're bigger than us, but it's also like their brains are proportionately big to their body too.
Hmm.
But I think what someone interestingly brought up was the part of their brain that deals with like emotions is bigger also proportionally than ours. So they probably experience emotions in a different way than us. And I was wondering, do they have like a consciousness that's emotionally based? Like how we are talking right now and I'm being like, I'm changing my breath and that's putting ideas into your head? Are they more like a consciousness, an emotional consciousness based? Like, I just wonder what it's like for them. And like, I was thinking about that and I was like, I wonder what the perspective of climate change is to animals. Because I think a lot of people say that elephants get PTSD from poaching. So,
Mhm.
like, I think elephants are the number one killers of people in Africa, right?
Yeah, elephants kill a lot of people. I think elephants like are usually I can kill more people than any other
Yeah, I think
animals.
but I think a lot of people say that they do that on purpose. Like, it's because a lot of them are like when they're calves, they see their parents get like shot and their tusks get. That's pretty brutal, right?
Like Killmonger.
I was just wondering. I wonder what that's like. What do you think that's like?
What it's like to live in the life of an elephant,
Not just an elephant, but
or just like an animal in general.
yeah, like, well, because you've seen those videos of like dogs, or like you guys have dogs and cats, right? And you swear sometimes that they get what you're saying.
Yeah,
Not obviously like this, but like to a degree. I just wonder what that's like from their
yeah.
perspective.
Well, it's interesting. I've always thought about how in humans, like obviously every now and then we get somebody who's born who's like their intellect, like their brain is on another level.
Mhm.
Like they just somehow like some people from like the minute they're like 5 years old, they know they are able to learn about as much as like a college student, like on average. And I wonder if there's ever been elephants who were born or like any other animal
That
who
can,
was born like very smart,
but they
like
can't communicate with us, right?
yeah, because like just vocally, like physically, they can't communicate. But they were born like maybe even as on the average level of a human, and since they can't communicate, all they can do is maybe physically do something, and it makes me think like to them, they probably wonder like, what the fuck is our story? Like, what's up with us?
Must be, well, because it's interesting because there's always those videos online of like a seal or like a shark or a whale coming up to divers and they like clearly show that they have a hook and
Mhm.
they'll be like, can you take it
Oh
out?
yeah,
Which is interesting to me because it's like they obviously seem to get that we get it. You know what I mean? So like, I don't know. It's really interesting to me. Is I wonder what it's like from an animal's perspective, like what their consciousness is like. Like, who's to say they're not exactly like us?
Mhm.
They just experience their consciousness in a less matter of fact way than we
Mhm.
do.
I wonder if they think of us as either A, gods, or B, some kind of protectors. And like, it's obviously if you're coming from the human side, you're like, nah, like, we're not like that because like we destroy the planet and stuff. But like to them, and if they see it in their niche habitat, where like it's only ever like marine biologists, If they're like, these guys are like, they're cool, bro. Like they literally like are always cleaning up, and like if I get
they took a
yeah,
hook out of my fin, bro.
and it's like they're basically gods.
Do you
Like
think they have woke species where they're like, how did the hook get there in the first place?
yeah, they do.
They have woke.
They have in their fucking like
I always
professor
feel-
class.
I always feel like they're just scared because they always feel like they don't know what's going on. Sometimes they're like, I feel like going back to like what Stevie said, like how do they see us? I feel like they're always kind of scared. I feel like they're sometimes confused on like what's going on. Because I mean, I feel like with all the chaos that usually is going on in human life, they're like, what's going on with our life over here? So I
Mhm.
don't know.
I don't
It's-
know. I genuinely wonder because
Who-
go ahead.
Wasn't it? Who is it? It's dolphins, right? That they like they like make fun of us and stuff. No,
Dolphins?
is it dolphins that are smart?
Dolphins
Is it?
are
Right?
I know beluga whales, they recorded them and they mimic our speech. So they sound like that, and
Wow.
they'll like pretend like they're talking to like us, like they're
Wow.
mimicking us, which is weird, right? They're like,
Mhm.
listen.
Look at
No,
these
I'm telling
losers.
you, like, isn't dolphins like the second smartest beyond us?
I'll Google it.
I think
Yeah,
so. I
yeah.
think it is.
Brandon, pull it up. And if that's the case, whatever the case is of whatever is the second smartest animal compared to us, like I'm telling you, if
It's
there's
dolphins.
it's dolphins,
Mhm.
there had to have been a dolphin born that was on par with the human's intellect. If not, if that's already on average, if dolphins already are on par with like human
Well, I
intellect.
think dolphins. I don't know. I'm probably not gonna be able to find it, but it's like they'll compare them. Like dolphins are about the same smartness or the same intelligence as like a 5-year-old, which
It's pretty smart.
it's quick as a whip. If
Yeah,
you if for an
literally-
animal, you know,
that means a dolphin right now is smarter than my nephew.
right? I mean, I don't know for if that's the actual one, but just to be in a toddler is pretty smart. You know,
Yeah.
like Valentine's pretty smart. It's quick as a whip.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's pretty interesting to me. Like how they find out like elephants or they like mourn their dead or they'll like bury their dead or they'll come back every year where like someone they loved like died.
Mhm.
That's really interesting to me.
Oh, like
they,
elephant graveyards.
yeah, like they have a concept of like a
Death.
death and like, oh, we gotta mourn this guy and show our
Oh.
respect. Like what? Like you guys can do that? Like that's interesting to me because I genuinely wonder what's going on in their head. Like how does reality hit them?
Mm.
I always think that's crazy because now that you mention that, I always think about when one of my dogs passed away,
Mhm.
and all the dogs felt it. Like even because mom was like our cat Puffy Puffers, she was like he's sad, bro. Like he looks like he's going through it.
That's
And then
interesting, right?
my other dog too, Cookie, R.I.P. to her too.
Mhm.
R.I.P.
She also was like sad because it was kind of like they were like playing and she was playing with the dog that like passed, and then you could tell that they were all just sad. And I remember I hugged her. I remember she was just sitting there and she was like looking at me, and I hugged her because she looked so sad. I was like, damn. So yeah, I was like, damn. Like just thinking about like they could feel things. They can. Well, I mean, dogs sense a lot of things, right? Like that's why they use them a lot for like therapy dogs and like service
Mhm.
dogs.
That's interesting, right? Where it seems like animals are really in tune with like
Emotion.
emotion.
Mhm.
And I was like, I wonder if their consciousness is very emotional based, and I wonder visually what that kind of looks like.
Do you think it has to do with like survival? Do you think
Maybe.
the reason why they're so connected to emotion is because that's how they kind of scan like survival? If they see some animals over there that look distressed or like fatigued, they're like, okay, they got fucked up by something.
We gotta get out of
Like
here.
yeah, like they're not in good shape, so something happened here. So let me dip.
Maybe.
Or do you
but
think it's something else?
I wonder about like the stuff where they say, I mean, I don't know, don't quote me again this again, but like where they, I think what do you call them, primatologists, or anyways they study like
Like primates?
chimps, yeah, and they say that like they observe rituals in them that mimic like religious rituals, and that's interesting to me because what's the natural like benefit of that, like what's the evolutionary benefit of like being sad or being like in love or believing in God? Like if you're
Do
looking
you
at it
think?
from a matter of fact point, I mean,
Do you think animals fall in love?
I don't know. Maybe the animals that mate for life, right? Like penguins, where they when their mate dies, they kind of
Mm,
never
yeah.
again.
Remember, bro? They
Sad.
go to they find a pebble and they
Yeah.
give it to
It's
the
a
other
Do
penguin.
you ever watch that movie, the Penguin and the Pebble or something like that?
No.
You never watched it? It's a good. Well, I watched it in Spanish, but I always thought it was charming.
What is
You
it
know,
about?
it's the Penguin and the Pebble. It's exactly that. It's
Like
like this. I think he's like a he's kind of like a not so handsome
he's
penguin.
a certified lover
Aw.
boy.
I think I don't remember. I haven't seen it since I was a kid, but like
Aw.
there's a beautiful penguin. He's like, oh, I'm gonna get her this awesome rock or whatever or something. But then he has an amazing personality, so or something like that. I don't know. I don't really remember.
That's wholesome. It makes me think though,
Damn.
like in terms of dogs, it makes me think if like out of all the animals in the animal kingdom, I wonder if dogs are the ones that are the most in tuned to the human
That's
like
interesting because they
emotion.
they evolved alongside us, right?
Yeah.
So I wonder if when people say like, "Nah, the dog understands me," I'm like, scientifically, I get why people are like, "You're tripping." Like, I just wonder, like, is there that a possibility? Because they're literally we took them from wolves and we brought them with us.
Mhm.
Like, are they in tune with us? Are they kind of like, I get what you.
I feel like they are. I feel like they are only because since we've been alongside them so much, we obviously probably like kept the dogs that we felt a deeper connection to, and then obviously over lineages of them breeding together, it's like the dogs and like, oh, I get it, and it goes back to the service dogs because I think service dogs blow my mind, like the fact that
They know all
sometimes,
that stuff and how you can
yeah,
train them to do that.
like I've seen the clips of somebody who has a service dog like is in their bed and while they're sleeping like
They have
they
a
start
seizure,
like yeah they
and the
start
dog gets under them. That
yeah
one's amazing, where it stops people from hurting themselves with seizures. That's you
or
know what I mean. That's interesting that
yeah
you can even like
or
train a
they
dog to
or
do
they
that.
sense before something's like coming, like if you have like an asthma attack or like your blood sugar is
Or
like
some of
down
them
or
can
something
smell
like
cancer.
oh
Like what? You can
yeah
smell cancer?
oh
that.
yeah because sometimes
They sense it before you even react.
on TikTok, there's this girl who has a service dog, and I remember I watched one of her videos, and she was saying like all the things her service dog does, and she showed footage, and one time she was just like at a counter, and she was talking to the cashier, and she started getting like super anxious, and the dog could tell, and the dog started like rubbing up on her to like comfort her and like sit like by her legs, and also she said that sometimes like she would get snacks on the supermarket and she didn't know that there's some stuff in there that she's allergic to and the dog would like tell her like get that shit out of here.
I know that's interesting. That's really funny. You know what I also find interesting is like I don't remember. I think it's this. Remember, there's like a tsunami in Thailand. That's like it's kind of a major. I don't really remember the name of it or something like that. But
Mhm.
anyways, how what they do. We're like a big like tourist attraction. There's Asian elephants there, and they let people ride them. But on the day that there was a tsunami, like a few minutes before it happened, all the elephants took off. Like they knew, and there's a scientific explanation is because elephants communicate in like frequencies that we can't hear. So they could hear or they can
Damn.
feel the frequency of the earthquake and the tsunami coming. And they're like, we got to get out of here.
Damn.
Which is interesting to me because it's like, I don't know what the word is. I want to say like I envy, not I envy the power of it, but like,
How come
it's
we can't do that shit?
not necessarily, but like more like how in tune they are with nature and stuff like that. I
Mm.
think that's really cool. And that's something that I feel is
Because
pretty
we got
cool.
away from nature. That's
Yeah,
why.
that's why I don't know. Personally, that's why I'm not really that into technology.
We would have probably had superpowers by now, but
Bro, but tech is our way to getting back our senses that we lost. I was gonna say this. Well, I'm kind of ahead of myself. I was gonna say, do you think we currently right now have senses that are like within us, kind of, and like we need to awaken them?
I don't know because I don't know about senses, but like I guess maybe that's the like if you were gonna call it something, that's what you would call it. But it's weird that sometimes like you just get bad feelings about something and it's right,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
like intuition.
intuition or stuff like that where a lot of people write it off, they're like it's bullshit or whatever. I mean, but like I don't know, it's interesting to think about because I know a lot of people will be like, nah, I had a bad feeling about that and I was right, or like or recently we were just talking about 9/11, how there's a lot of people who are supposed to be on the planes and
Mhm.
they didn't go because of circumstances, or there's people who stories where like people are like, I felt I had a bad feeling about it, or You know what I mean? Stuff like that, where it's
I don't
interesting.
know. And then you guys have been predicting the future.
Dude, you and me before the pandemic, you and me were on it. We literally predicted the next 5 years.
Yeah. Um, but like, I was gonna
He's
say,
like, damn, I
yeah.
did.
That's why we don't talk. Well, that's why we don't talk about the future anymore because he doesn't like how strong are we manifesting.
uh, I was gonna ask you guys,
Uh-huh.
because you asked me about the future.
Okay.
What do you guys want to do with your lives? What do you think is a fulfilling life for you?
You know, that's interesting. I saw recently this exact same quote from I forgot his name, but this guy I saw it on YouTube and then I saw it on TikTok coincidentally. He said that life that people get mixed up and they think life is a journey and an adventure when life isn't an adventure. He said that life is a lot like a dance. When you dance, the point of the dance isn't to get from like one point to the other, it's to enjoy the dance. He said that that's how life is, that people go through life thinking it's an adventure, waiting for that moment of success, waiting for that moment where they hit the climax of like I did it, like I did everything I want to do, and they expect that they'll feel different after than they did before. But the truth is like that never happens. Like you go through life and you get what you want, what you worked for, and sometimes you feel the same.
Mhm.
Like you're at the mountaintop and you don't feel any different. And he said that that's why life is more like a dance. You have to enjoy it for what it is. The point is to just be alive. The point is like every day waking up. That is like what you're looking for instead of going through life and years later finding out like I went through all this. I worked hard and like I achieved my goals, but I don't feel any different. I don't feel any happier. And it's because life was kind of passing you by
Mhm.
and you were just kind of saying like this is what it is now. This isn't what I want it to be. You know what I mean? I don't.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's an interesting quote. I
I
don't know if I fully agree with it, but it really much makes me think like, yeah, I think sometimes you get caught up too much in where you want to be and you don't enjoy where you are now.
and what does that look like for you?
For me, um, like, do you want me to be specific?
Whatever you want, bro.
For me, obviously, like you already know, like I want to work in film, like I want to direct movies. For me, a successful life would be one where when I'm older, I don't have to worry about money. I don't have to worry about um I don't have to worry about like who I am as a person. I want to be secure in who I am and I want to feel like every day that I wake up, I feel happiness. I was going to say regret that I don't have any regrets, but I feel like trying to live life without regret is kind of like setting yourself up for failure
Interesting.
cuz I feel like your failures and your regrets are kind of what help you elevate yourself,
Mhm.
you know? Um but I guess I know I'm like kind of just rambling on, but like I guess success to me and like at the end of the day of what where I want to be in a happy life is I want to I want to have good relationships. That's it. I just want to have good relationships with
Interesting.
everyone.
Julie?
What was the question again? Where do I want to be in?
Well, what do you want to do with life? What's a fulfilling life for you? What kind of woman do you want to be? All that
Mm,
kind of stuff.
mm, um, I mean, I don't really know what I want to do in life. I already graduated college and everything, but
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
thank you. But I started joking. Um, but I honestly, I'm still, I feel like I'm just living life at this point.
Mm.
Um, especially this year and especially like after the pandemic, I'm like, I'll just do whatever I kind of want to do. Um, and then, but I honestly don't know what I want to do with life. But I know what I do want is at the end of it, I just want to be happy. Like I want to be at a place where I'm fine, like on my own, and just happy with life. Like, cause I feel like
Mhm.
sometimes I'm still like going through it, and I'm like, "Ugh, I don't want to be here anymore. Like
Mhm.
I want to be to the point where I'm already happy with my life and like with my career goals and everything. But like because for me I've never found happiness in like how much I'm making. It's more of like as long as I'm enjoying it, like that's cool. Like for me it's never been like, oh, I want a bigger house than like what my parents have already. Like I'm like, if I find like a tiny house for myself, like that's cool. Like what satisfies me, right? Like it's
Mhm.
like my own thing, what I like. Like I don't like this big and extravagant things. Like I like super like simple things, you know.
Mhm.
And I feel like as long as I'm enjoying it, I'm fine with how I'm living. So I can't be specific on what I want to do, especially in career goals, because I've never really had any. I've just been like, I'm just living life, bro. But I do see myself like maybe eventually, like if I were like I'd have a family or something, and then just being happy with my family. Because I feel like I sometimes have seen myself where I would enjoy being like a housewife and just being at home and like
Me
just
too.
taking care of my kids. I don't know. I've always, I don't know. I feel like I've always liked. Well, now I'm starting to like more of like me being a woman and being able to carry life.
Mhm.
And I feel like that's just something like super beautiful. And I'm like, I just want to have my little posse. I'm like, I want to have my little posse. And I don't know. I feel like that's where I've been, but I feel like also it changes a lot. I've never have like a good determination. That's how I've always been everywhere. Like I've
Mhm.
always
That's
gone
cool.
everywhere in life because I've been like, I'm just enjoying it. It's like however it goes.
That's cool.
I don't really like have a plan because they say if you have plans, like God laughs
Man
at you.
plans.
What about you, Brandon? What about you? What do you want to do with life?
This old chunk of coal. You know what I was thinking about? Sorry to go on a
No, go
tangent,
ahead.
but I was thinking about the other day. I feel like I'd be a good old man. Like, and I don't mean like I mean like I, how do I say it? Like, I feel like I'd be. I don't. I love my youth, and I don't want to not. I don't want to be old anytime soon. Like, I really enjoy being young. But I feel like I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of cool stuff that I don't know. I just feel like I'd be really good at being an old man, if that makes any sense. Like being like, I don't know. I feel like I'd
So you
want
want to be a healthy old man? That's
I
what you
want
want
to
to
have
do with
a.
your
I'd
life?
want to be a grizzled old man, like big old beard.
Like Logan?
Yeah, big old beard where everybody's like, "What's that guy's deal? What he's been through?" I'd be like, just angry all the time. I don't know, but not really.
You've hurt people.
Yeah.
What have I become?
Yeah. Yeah, that would be cool. I'd be a
Yeah.
grizzled old man. But I know you asked me a question, but before, to answer your question with the question, would you guys? I was gonna say like coming back around about how like consciousness and like all this weird stuff. It's weird because part of why I asked that is because like I remember Joe Rogan. I know everybody hates him,
We
but
always bring them up.
Not on this show, I guess.
he lives on our show rent free, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
He talked about how like I forgot what it was, but I think he was talking about spirituality, about how like there's a lot of things in life where you can't. It feels like you're doing it a disservice to kind of put it down to numbers and zeros, right?
Mm.
Zeros and ones, I mean. Um, and he was talking about how like there's something weird or like amazing or like interesting about like being around people and talking to them, people you care about. And he says it's like a weird feeling that you can't describe. And he was talking about how like a lot of people say, well, it's because we're social creatures, right? We got to build bonds because that makes us feel safe, and we get social hierarchy. That's how we survive, right? Because let's say I'm having a bad time in the wild setting, I'm having a bad time because we're friends. You'd be like, all right, you can have some of my food, like, and that's how I would survive, right? And he was saying like it doesn't feel like that's just what it is, right? And it's interesting because when I was talking to you guys, I could tell that you guys were serious about that. And it's interesting because I agree when people kind of talk about stuff or like they get into a position where they're kind of like I guess being them real selves, it feels interesting, like to observe or like to feel because it seems like it's something more than the physical, right?
Mm.
Oh, that's why I brought it up. I feel like I was thinking about that a lot. It's just interesting to me.
You were thinking about how when you watch people talk, say again. Clarity, clarity.
Not when I watch people talk, but like just like how Joe Rogan was saying that like that socializing, like how you said, socializing can sometimes feel spiritual, right? Because you feel like you're. It's just really that's basically it. It sometimes feels spiritual, like it feels like it's above. It just feels like a little bit more than just animals talking so that they can
Mm.
so that they can
Oh, I get
survive.
you.
You know what I
I get
mean?
what you're
And
saying.
I
Yeah.
feel like I agree. I don't know. I feel it feels interesting to me that when people talk about things that they care about or they're being their authentic selves, it's like I feel like this is something a little bit more than the physical, right?
Hmm.
I don't know.
Mm.
That's just what I was thinking about.
Yeah, I get what he's saying. I feel like sometimes those are the moments where you feel like, for me personally, I feel like there's something beyond life, which is such a huge conclusion to jump
Yeah,
to.
right.
Mhm.
But like when we were at Griffith Park recently and we were talking up there near the benches, I remember I just couldn't stop thinking about, like, there's no way, like, this is it after
Yeah.
we die. Like there's no way.
Hmm.
Like the way I was looking at all you guys just talk and me myself talk to you guys, it's like it's as if something's living inside of us and it can't just go away.
Yeah.
Like this just can't be it.
It feels interesting, right? That there's like, I don't know. It feels like, I remember my dad was talking one. He wasn't talking to me. He was just talking on the phone, and I was just, I wasn't like actively listening, but
Every now and then, right?
yeah, every now and again I would, it just would catch my attention. I think he was talking to like his. Sometimes he gets calls from people from back in the day, and it's, you could tell he's like, oh, like I haven't seen, and it has been a long time because he's an older guy, and he was just talking about like the 50s and 60s, which to us is like, that's ancient history, right? I mean, the 80s and
Mhm.
90s are kind of already getting to that. I
Yeah.
mean, the
Mhm.
1980s, what, 41 years ago?
41 years ago.
That's
Yeah.
Yeah.
insane, right? Imagine like the 50s and 60s. But anyways, he was talking about, they're just reminiscing, catching up, and he was saying, again, I think, I don't know for sure, but I'm assuming they were talking about, this guy, we used to know him and he passed, and he was just talking about like, I think he said something along the lines of, I think one day we're going to be back at Venice walking around. And what he had said, what he was implying is that I think he said he feels like the afterlife's kind of like you go back to a place where you find yourself most at home, most happy. And I feel like that's interesting. That's an interesting take because the concept of that is really interesting to me. Like when you talk to people, or that's a tremendous compliment when people say, when I talk to you, I feel like I'm at home, or like I feel, I don't know. I just feel like that's a really interesting concept, and I agree that when you talk to
Mhm.
people, or like when we were on substances, that feeling is heightened, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I just find it
It makes
interesting.
you
I'ma
think. Oh, go.
cry.
Uh, it makes me also think that, like, older people, older men, um, it's insane where your mentality goes when you kind of assume that, like, not that death is around the corner, but that, like, it's a lot closer than when you're our age. You know
Yeah.
what I
Well,
mean?
you feel invincible, right? You're like,
Yeah.
nah, but
Mhm.
I'm actually gonna be
Yeah.
alive forever.
I
You know?
remember a week ago I was at the gym and I was leaving. I was in the locker room and I was just getting my stuff ready. And these two older guys, they were talking to each other from across, like, the locker room. And one of the guys, it was saying that, like, that he, when he was younger, he didn't love himself. That it took him 50 years, and for him to love himself. From those 50 years and below, he hated himself. He talked about how when he was 9 years old, his mom died, and when he was 17, his dad died. Um, and he talked about how he doesn't know how he's here. He thinks that it's because of God, and he tells the other older guy, he's like, I'm a Christian, and then the other guy is like, oh, I don't really believe in that type of stuff, and the older guy is also like, honestly, dude, like, I get that, like, I understand that too, like, I honestly myself, I don't know if there actually is something after we die. All I know is that I've always felt protected. He's like, I had a brother and sister, they're also dead. I'm the only one who's left in my family. All of them gone. And the only reason I feel like I'm here is because I feel like something's always looked after me. And he says if I could go back and tell myself something when I was younger, it would be to to love yourself, like to understand why you hate yourself so much. And he said, like, now that I'm older, like, I'm finally happy. Like, I'm finally, like, doing what I want to do. And he said that in life you only need two things. The older guy said in life you only need two things: is to love yourself and to always speak up, to always say
Mhm.
what's on your mind, to always say how you feel. Um, and I was there like, damn, like, what the
You just
fuck?
just in
At
the
the
bathroom, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's
at
like,
the gym.
yeah,
Well,
at the
well,
locker room.
well, that's interesting, right? Like going back to that Neuralink stuff. Like, I don't know. I mean, I was gonna talk about stuff like AI, but I feel like we don't really need it in the sense of like,
Hmm.
I feel like we've gotten to the point where what we're talking about is what we're talking about
Hmm.
already.
Yeah.
Um, but I've always felt like, how people talk about like spirituality and everything happens for a reason, and that's really easy to conceptualize in a place of gratitude, right? Like you and me might have an easier time saying, I feel like everything happens for a reason because we have really
Mm.
good lives, right? You
Mhm.
know, food on the table whenever we want it, regular water, clean water, a nice roof over our heads. We got a show, we got family, we got friends,
Cars.
school, cars,
Mm.
all that. Anything you could, anything that someone, if you told them in another country, they, I mean, to even make it to our age in other countries is a miracle.
Mhm.
And and what I'm saying is like, it's easy to for us to say
Mm.
like, okay, like I believe in something, whereas to them it's like everything happens for a reason, right? Then what's the reason for me suffering?
Yeah.
And that's interesting because that's why a lot of people I think don't believe in a higher power. I'm not trying to convert anybody, by the way. I'm just um just conceptually.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's turned
Yeah.
But I
into the Catholic podcast.
but I like. Do you know who Stephen Colbert is?
Yeah, of course.
I like his take on it. I've always really liked him and Conan, and because they're friends, and that's how I kind of knew about Stephen Colbert. Is he's a devout Catholic, and again, I think that he kind of addresses that point because he was a philosophy major, and a lot of philosophy when it comes to like God or higher powers or spirituality is right. The old thing is if God is all good, he can't be all powerful. He's all power, he can't be all good, right? Because if God was all good, then he'd know about and all knowing and all powerful, he'd know about bad and he'd want to do something about it because he's all good. And because he's all powerful, he'd do something about it. But he doesn't. So therefore there's no God. That's like that's I'm dumbing it down obviously, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I his take on it I find really interesting where he talks about how like suffering or like bad things or like what we consider bad or like flaws in people are oftentimes not that at all. It's almost unifying or it's almost learning. Like I can attest, and I'm sure you guys can attest that there's a lot of bad things, you know, survivable things in your life that are always like, man, like that sucked. But afterwards, you're kind of like, I feel like that needed to happen. I don't know. I've always found that interesting. But again, that's easy to say when you're somebody
Mm-hmm.
who is in a position to say that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there's this book that I've been wanting to read about I think it's called Man's Search for Meaning, and the guy who wrote it, it's Viktor Frankl. He was in the Holocaust, so if anyone can kind of attest to being in a position where you kind of lose faith, it's that guy. I don't know. I think it's just interesting that people can kind of like what a weird trait to have that in despite of everything, people still want to have faith, right?
Mm-hmm.
I just find that really interesting.
Mm. What do you consider yourself, Brandon? Are you a religious person? Are you a faithful person? Are you an atheist? What do you consider yourself? If that's okay with you saying on live on the air.
I'm gonna say it, but I'm just to address it.
Yeah.
It's not that I have a problem with saying it. It's just I feel like it changes, like how you said. So,
Mhm.
like if I say something now, it might maybe even in a week I'll be like, I don't know if I agree with that
Yeah.
anymore. I think I'm a little bit. I think I'm spiritual, or how
Mhm.
people say. Um, I'm not quite religious because I feel like religious has too much man written all over it.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
I get what you mean exactly.
But I think spiritual is a lot of things where it's kind of like I don't know. It doesn't. It tries to avoid man on it. And I think that's
Mm.
interesting. But yeah, what about you guys?
Sure, you go first.
I don't know. I feel like I'm a bit of like I'm everywhere because I feel like I'm very in tune like with spirituality, but I grew up Catholic, so I feel like there's certain things growing up as Catholic that I believe in. So like I really love praying to like the Virgin Mary.
Mm-hmm.
Um I don't really talk to God as much, but and I mean I don't really go to church either. I've never really liked going to church.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like I've always had I've always hoped that there is something like afterlife. I don't know cuz I always thought like I've always thought about that. Like I've always thought about like damn like what happens after? Like that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Cuz I always think about it as like when I'm sleeping, like is it just that? Like it's just
Mm-hmm.
pitch black like
You just don't
that's
feel
it?
it. You're just
Yeah.
not here.
Or do you eventually like go somewhere and like start seeing things? Um because I also feel like I always sense like there's like spirits and like vibes and all that stuff. Um but so I don't know. I don't know what you would call that where it's like I'm a believer in some things, and then other
You're
things they're like
agnostic, right?
stories.
Agnostic? Is that where you
And
believe?
agnostic means you lean towards more atheism. Atheism.
I thought agnostic was more you're open to the idea of God.
Yeah, you're open to the idea of God, but you're an
Okay,
atheist.
so you're a little more than spiritual, but a little less than religious.
Mhm.
That's cool. What about you, bro?
I feel like I am more agnostic. Like
Mm,
I feel like to me it's really hard to like full on say like I think there's something out there, but I keep an open mind because I feel like there's so much things about spirituality and like about faith that I think sounds really beautiful, and like I think it pushes people also to like their greatness sometimes. Like some
mhm,
people use religion and like they succeed
mhm,
all because and I always think about it this way of like if there is no God and these people push themselves to like their limit and they succeed, like whether it's Kanye or
mhm,
like some other artists, like they make the Grammys, they become millionaires, and they always say like I owe it all to God. Like NBA players get like
mhm,
MVP, they're like I want to thank God. The
mhm.
Oscars, I always think like if he doesn't exist, if there is no God, how insane is it that just the idea of him makes people
Them
want to be
push.
better?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I think that type of stuff makes me have an open mind
Mhm.
because I'm like I feel like it's so cruel if there's really nothing there.
Yeah.
Well, what's interesting about it is I think that like this kind of stuff, like as much as people are like, I don't really think about that. I feel like you're lying if you think that. I feel like a lot of life heavily involves that and in ways that we don't really see. And the way that I personally, again, this is just my opinion, that I came to this conclusion is I was gonna just randomly tweet because I was just thinking about it. You're talking about the polar bear thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was originally gonna talk about, or I was just gonna tweet something about conspiracy theories, right? About how like I feel sometimes that conspiracy theories, I personally believe in a few of them, and I don't fault anybody for believing them at all. It's just a theory, but like I think sometimes that a lot of conspiracy theories exist or they're so believable is because we deep down really want them to be believable. And I think part of that is because without conspiracy theories, right? You remove events of meaning, right? Conspiracy theories, whether it's a good conspiracy or a bad conspiracy, it gives events meaning. So, like, let's say a tragedy happens, like 9/11, and I'm not trying to,
No, you're
no
good.
disrespect to anything of that
Mhm.
happened, but there's a lot of conspiracies surrounding that. Remove the conspiracy, and it's just a horrible event that just happened because zero reason at all. And that's interesting because it seems like because that's a possibility. In fact, that's the accepted the why the truth of it, right? Is that it just happened because evil people decided to do evil things, right?
Mhm.
But like with a conspiracy, it kind of even if it's a bad like meaning, it still gives it meaning, right? Like oh, they don't work, like you know what I mean. And I feel like that's fascinating to me that it seems like bad events become more palatable when there's a meaning behind it, even if
I get
that
what you're
meaning
saying.
is
Yeah.
almost equally as bad as the event itself. And it's like, I wonder why that is, like why people search for meaning so much. Like we're just meaning machines. Everything
Mhm.
has to have a meaning. And we were talking about it,
Mm.
how our purpose in life or the purpose in the universe and what life is supposed to be like. And it seems like a lot of the mind is just searching for meaning. I don't know. I found that interesting. And I feel like conspiracies are they seem almost like a coping mechanism,
Mhm.
and I find that weird.
Well, I think for me, I like the idea that life has no meaning because obviously,
You can give it
you
meaning,
could
right?
give it meaning, and I feel like it makes life kind of a sandbox, like a free play.
You can do
Like
whatever you want with
you
it.
do whatever you want,
Mm,
and like you never have to worry about working towards a goal because you set your own goals.
yeah.
If my goal today is to go to the bar, get fucked up, have a good time with my friends, and then I do that, I'm like, there you go, I did it. If the universe had a meaning, like like the meaning of life is to like spread life and do
Mm.
this, I'm like, fuck, like
Now I got to do that.
I gotta add that to the schedule, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait,
Um.
what's up?
DP18 joined the chat, and he said the conspiracy feels like the other side of the story.
Yeah, I agree.
the conspiracy feels like the other
It
side of the
just, I
story.
feel like, yeah, I don't know. I just feel like, I don't know. It's just really difficult. I feel like, it's weird. It's a weird thing that happens, and I wonder psychologically what the origins of that are.
It makes me think because you said like sometimes conspiracies are used when bad things happen, so that way sometimes bad things happen just because bad things happen, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
And conspiracies make it like no, like it happened because of X, Y, and Z. And it makes me think the opposite. Like good things happen for random reasons.
Yeah.
And like, does that make you as uncomfortable as bad things happening?
Well, I just wonder, like, is the mind really that uncomfortable with the absence of meaning?
Mhm.
Like, I don't know. It's just weird. I find that weird. Like, that there's always like it's always searching for something.
Mhm.
And I
Yeah.
agree though, even when it's good, that there's looking for something that.
Mhm.
And I wonder maybe what a higher consciousness would think about that. Like if we were to get Neuralinked and it was
Mhm.
like, what if,
Uh,
yeah, like what would it be like? Would it be like, there's no meaning, but awesome? Or would it be like, holy shit, I'm freaking out, and then just implode on itself?
Yeah, I get you.
Because I remember we've even said that like if aliens existed, like that would throw off everything, like especially like religion. Like damn, they've been here and like we've been believing in this faith and this God, and then there's like aliens who are like who we've
Yeah.
we've
How do
imagined
they
them to be
how do
something
they
else.
fit? How do they
Right?
fit into all
That
Yeah.
and
this?
but that's like another thing though, right? Like that religion kind of almost in part, not that's not the only reason, but when it comes to like the universe and how I mean, as far as we know right now, we're alone. Like that's a scary thought for a lot of people. Like, what? We're just like an accident. Like we're alone and we're random. Like there's no one else but us. Well, but then like, oh, it's because we're special. Like we're God's people. He chose us, and we're really special. That's there's only one of a kind people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I just find it interesting that where the mind goes in these types of
It
events.
it kind of reminds me of like for me when I feel lonely, I feel like deep loneliness on like a universal scale.
Mhm.
Like I started thinking about like damn, like I feel lonely right now, but like I'm in Earth and like we're literally the only people here in the entire universe as far as we know. And it makes me think back to what we were talking about, how sometimes you have a conversation with somebody and you guys start like soul talking, like you guys are
Yeah.
talking deep from the heart.
Mm.
And every time I've had those conversations with people, I always feel like we're finding some sort of ground, some sort of like stability in those moments that we're speaking to each other, because most of our life is just us lost, like us just kind of roaming around trying to figure out what the fuck is happening in life. Like what is all this?
Yeah.
And like that's why I mean we have a fucking podcast for a reason, because like talking to me has
For a reason? No, I'm just kidding.
talking to me has always made me feel at home, like you said.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's made me feel like I can, it's almost like crying.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like I could get my
It's
stress
comforting.
out. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a release.
Yeah. I feel like before before I mean, I don't know if you guys ever knew, but I was really, really shy and like timid into myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like not until I left for college that like I was on my own, that I kind of had to, I mean, I kind of had to start over, right? Like I had to make new friends, I had to meet people.
Yeah.
And I feel like I kind of had to come to like terms with myself and like say like for me I need to open up more. I need to talk to people, cuz I feel like that's what my problem used to be, is that because I wouldn't talk about it, I would always just be mad with life. Like
Yeah.
I would always just be like mad and like to myself. And now like now I feel like I love talking. I
Yeah.
love talking a lot. And I feel like once I that's why now when I meet new people, I just want to get to know them
Mm.
and get to know like their life and like what they want to do in life. And for me, I've always now I love talking more about more like intimate stuff, like talking about like their lives, what they want to do, where they see themselves, or like I
Mhm.
feel like also because since we're adults now, that we're getting to an age where we're like, this is what I want to do with my life, or this is how I see my life. And I always feel bad when people are still very at the like they're still very negative towards themselves. And
Mhm.
I always want to like help them out and be like get to the part where like they can be themselves and be happy with themselves and all that
Mhm.
stuff. But yeah, I remember before I don't like talking to people. I really wasn't a people person
Mhm.
until like I feel like I went to college, and I started meeting just new people, and like I have so many close friends from college.
Mhm.
That's why I always miss them. Shout out to them. Shout out to everyone in SF. I always miss them, and everyone that I've met there like has been super life changing to me, and I feel
Mhm.
like that's why slowly I've been becoming a better person.
Mhm.
Um, I've been trying. I mean, I'm still working on myself on who I was as a teenager, but I feel like I'm getting there and I'm getting better because of the people that I've met and because of how open I've become to them.
Yeah, it's so weird because I think a lot of people go through life and nobody ever asks them like genuinely like how are you doing and be like,
Mhm.
oh, I'm doing okay,
Mhm.
and be like, no, but like genuinely like how are you, like
Mhm.
what do you think? People can talk a lot and never say anything,
Yeah.
never
Yeah.
say anything of value or anything that they believe in,
Mhm.
because it's so easy to just be like, oh, okay, and go about your day, because
Yeah.
everybody's, you could easily say everybody's going through their own shit,
Mhm.
but like it's better, at least to me, like you said, like I like when people are negative to themselves. I like actually talking to them and being like, what's up, bro, like what's on your mind,
Mhm.
because I genuinely believe like most people most people are significant, most people do matter.
Yeah.
Like I'd say it's rare to find somebody who doesn't matter, but a lot of people would still say like, who cares what I think, who cares about me,
Yeah.
like I was like, I don't matter. I was like, it's like, why would I vote?
Yeah.
And it's like I'm just one person among all these other people,
Mhm.
and that's not true, dude. Like the fact that we don't even know like other planets
Yeah.
means that yeah, maybe you're one among 7 billion, but you're a life, you're a soul, you're a
Mhm.
conscious mind in a fucking vast ocean where all we know there's nothing,
Mhm.
nothing.
Yeah.
Like every life matters.
Mm.
Wait. I know what you're gonna say. I know what you're gonna say. Let's not take it there.
But I guess speaking like on what you're saying, um, I've always found it interesting because I always feel like, at least for those people who always feel like they don't matter, I feel like at least to one person, there's usually always that one person. You don't know who that person is usually, but there always is that one person who really really cares about you. Because I always feel like you if you're, say you're like that negative person, but you've had like maybe a friend or something, and that you guys have always talked, and I feel like you may not know it, but for that one person you matter to them.
Yeah.
And I feel like people forget that, they do have people around them that do, but you get so stuck in your mind that you're like, no, like nobody cares about me, like nah. And I'm like, no, like someone does. There is someone, like someone, if you were to pass, someone is gonna mourn your death. Like someone's gonna be really really bad, feel really really bad that you're not here anymore. As I'm like, you should live your life and like try to find what makes you happy, not what others or what you expect others for you to be like. Like do what matters to you. Like yeah, in some parts it might be hard. It might be hard to get there. But like that's how it is though. That's how it usually is in the beginning. It's always hard. It's always hard with like it, whether you want to start a career, whether you want to start anything. Like it's always hard, but in the end it really does pay off. Like it
Mm-hmm.
it it all works out for you because it's what you want, right? Um, but I've always thought about that too because I've always been like, damn, like people always, because people, they complain, they're like, oh, it's hard, but I feel like that's kind of how it is sometimes. Because if it were easy, it's kind of how they say, like if it were easy, everyone would have it, right? Like everyone would be the same way, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, I'm like, damn, like y'all matter, bro.
And on that note,
Very interesting podcast today, guys.
Yeah.
Learned a lot.
I thought I had said, for those of you listening at home, I literally before the podcast I was like, let's keep it light today, guys. Let's talk about something funny. We were literally the entire time we're like, yeah, and then death is always creeping on my shoulder.
well, I mean, I don't
No,
know.
it was good, man. It was good.
It's I don't know. I feel like it's the way I see it is everybody should talk about this because it's healthy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in that sense it is light. So I had fun. I hope you guys had fun. If not, tune in next week. We'll whip up another banger for
Yeah.
you. But thank you to everybody who commented. Thank you to everybody who tuned in. We'll see you guys.
Shout out specifically to Patty with Fatty and DP18. You guys are cool. I love you guys for commenting. Thanks for
Yes.
supporting us. And anybody who's listening in the now or the future, I hope we made your day, and I hope you realize that you matter, like my sister said. Everyone does.
Goodbye.
See ya.
Goodbye. And I gotta do it. I gotta do it. You know, always remember, y'all.
We do a little trolling. It's called We Do a Little Trolling.
One of
And
these days,
now-
that's gonna be outdated. It's
and-
already feeling outdated.
And now
Bye,
YouTube
YouTube.
is goodbye, YouTube.